Hey everybody, welcome to Ready Speaker. Again, I have my good friend on, Nick Leshi. Just for everybody, we're not related, but we have a last name connection, which I will bring up every time.
Every single
Uh,
time. I
exactly
didn't
how
know
I
there was
introduced
I
myself
didn't
to you.
know there was a Leshy connection until you brought it up. I knew,
Yeah.
Albanians, but but I'm
We only got
curious
so
to
many names. We only got
yeah,
so many names. I
I
mean,
know.
so,
We talked about it before about doing that
yeah,
genealogy one day, and one day we
yeah,
will. So
I think we will. Well, I forget where my Leshi family's from. I think they're from. I know they're from Montenegro originally.
mhm,
But they settled in Deba in my town.
yeah.
But
A
that's neither
lot of
here nor there.
stories
But
there,
there's a
a lot of
lot
great
of interesting stories. We
do
could
some
definitely talk
screenplays
about.
right there.
Yeah. Oh, I got. I'll send you my newest screenplay if you want to read. Did I send you
I
the
would
newest
love
one?
to. You sent me
I'll
one.
send it
Yep.
just now.
And it was really good. It was really good. So,
Not that you two. No, I have another one I'm working on. Did I send you
all
that
right,
one?
I
The love
didn't read that
story.
one. I read you too, and that
Okay,
was
I'm
really
gonna
good.
send you that one too. So I'm working on a new screenplay, everybody. So hopefully something will happen, and these stories will be told, and I'll be really happy and living in a villa somewhere in Albania. Yes, I'll probably start smoking cigars. I don't. They have great tobacco
There you
there.
go.
I'll just probably start smoking cigars and talk about movies. So what we're talking about today, we're actually going to talk about No Time to Die and The Harder They Fall. These are very recent movies. One is a Netflix movie with Idris Elba. Idris, right? Is it Idris or Idris? I forget. Elba. And then the other is with Daniel Craig and the latest Bond flick. And I think we can go maybe to the Bond flick first,
Sure.
because there are comparisons. There are ways they compare, and I think there's some other movies that we can talk about too that offer some
Absolutely.
comparisons as well. But the Bond flick, I watched it 3 times before I liked it, and I will
So what
tell
made
you
you come
why.
back to it a couple of times if you didn't really like it the
It
first time?
did, yeah. So it did its job. It did its job of making me think. So regardless of negative or positive, I always think that's what films need to do. And so some are disgustingly, obviously just want you to think, and you're like, okay, stop. You make me overthinking about weird shit. But some films make you think about the action, the storytelling, the character, and where it's going. So I actually did. And I ended up watching it with my older son too, just to see how it was. And I'll tell you what, the reasons I was put off the first time is that I got tired of Bond being the story. It was no longer a story about a spy. It
Hmm.
was a story about how many people really disliked James Bond
Yeah.
and wanted him dead. And it
And
was
he
almost
wasn't he
familial at
wasn't
that
Double O
point.
Seven through most of the movie this time
Right,
around.
he was, except for Casino Royale, which is based on the that was the first out of these last series of movies. It became more and more about him and his journey
Hmm.
as Bond. And there was some. I mean, there's gonna be spoilers here, everybody. So sorry if you're watching a
Spoiler
one
alert.
hour podcast about a movie. There's spoilers, but there's elements of the traditional thing where he's got a love interest who's dramatically younger than him. I didn't like her that much actually. Who was that
Now
actress? Let me see what
I
her
had
name
an
is.
issue with that too. With the age
Yeah,
difference. That
I just
bugged
didn't
me a
like
little
even
bit.
her style of acting. I just didn't like it. I just didn't see it. Didn't feel right. Daniel Craig's he's a handsome older man. Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the guy looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wish I looked that
I
good.
just didn't see their chemistry. Maybe I don't know. It's just their chemistry I didn't see. That's all it is. Uh, but and he's and he's still in love with the woman from the first Casino Royale, which
Hmm.
there's a moment there that pulls in to ties him. He's a broken man, and everything goes shit crazy where he's running like Tom Cruise this movie. Tom Cruise is the best runner of any movie of all time. He can run like a motherfucker. So so he runs really really well. Tom Cruise runs great. Uh, but Daniel Craig did his best. Tom Cruise running frantically as he's doing all these things, and he breaks up with this woman because she's gonna die or whatever, and he goes back into his lonely place, and and again it's like, hey, we got to get James Bond, we got to get James 007, and
They
I
pulled him
and this
back
is
in, right? They
yeah,
just
they pulled him back in, but this was the funny thing for me when they said get 007, and I'm sure I don't know if anybody's really read on the movie, but they have a new 007, so now that number is interchangeable, and they had somebody else. That was interesting to me, and that's why I
yeah.
came back, because okay, they're taking corrective course on this character, and it's always been the subplot that 007 was just a number, and other people throughout history have been 007s. That's why you had Sean Connery, you had Roger Moore, and you had some guys that we can forget about, and then and then you have Daniel Craig, who I think nailed it. I think
He
for
really
me
did.
he is my
He really
favorite
did.
one. For me, besides the nostalgia of Sean Connery, he probably to me is my favorite
Yeah.
one.
I mean, I
I
like
think
all of them for different reasons. Even
okay.
you know even Dalton, right? He's the one that was like,
Yeah,
you watch a movie and sometimes you don't even think that's a James Bond movie because it was
right.
set during that era. Pierce Brosnan, I liked it. It was a little more cartoony. Roger Moore
Yeah,
was more cartoony, but
yeah,
this one I think really he nailed the character and it had an arc. If you see it from Casino Royale and you see it like
yeah,
the character grew and aged and addressed a lot of those issues. And this one movie has some flashbacks to like the stuff about you know in the past movies, right?
yeah,
And even the characters on the wall, you see the original M, and you see
yeah, yeah.
references to old devices that he used in previous
No, it was
movies, and
definitely closing the
you know,
chapter. It was closing the chapter, I
yeah,
thought, and even there was a scene, a funny bit where he meets this woman in Cuba, and he
I
thinks
like
he's
that
gonna
a
hook
lot.
up with her, and she just looks at him like, "Oh no, sir, no, we're on the mission. We're not doing that." And I thought that was great. I was like, you
Yep.
know what? He got shut down. He
Uh-huh.
is an older type of spy, and that
Mhm.
doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And I thought that was solid, and that was Ana de Armas. She did a great job, and
She did really good.
the
That
new
big action scene with her was really great too.
was really good. See,
Mhm.
that's what drew me back. That's what drew
Yeah.
me back.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's what pulled me in. I was like, I gotta watch this some more because
And
I
I almost wish they
appreciated.
had combined the character of the new 007 with her because
Yeah.
at first you see her, you just think she's like this ditzy character. She's a
Hmm.
newbie, now
Yeah.
and then she proves herself. I mean, she stands toe to toe with
Yeah.
James Bond. So I thought that might have been a really interesting way to introduce this new character who's taken the mantle of 007.
Yeah.
And because he was very respectful, the character's like, "You're 007 now. I'm not going to take that away from you."
Yeah.
You know,
And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot
yeah.
actually. And even with
Mhm.
the Lashana Lynch, as plays the new 007, I
Mhm.
thought she did a commendable job.
She was
I
great.
think she knocked it out of
Yeah.
the park. She had the presence, the humor, the timing, uh, the sexual magnetism.
Mhm.
I
And
think
some of the
within.
subtle acting too, where you could just
Yeah,
see she's like,
yeah,
"I'm here to do my job," and she could see how, I don't want to disrespect this guy because he carried the mantle
right.
for so long.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
without any
There was a balance
dialogue,
to that.
she's kind of conveying that, and I thought that's great acting,
Yeah.
really good.
No, those are my points. I think the supporting characters in it were great. Lashana Lynch as 007, and I'm just reading the names off IMDb. Ralph Fiennes again. I love that guy. He's broken his old style of spy, and that's why I said like they're putting a cap on this old style of spying that just doesn't jive anymore.
Mhm.
And what he did was wrong, and it came back to haunt him.
Yep.
And Daniel Craig too. He's suffering through this, and he's finally given it his all, and he kind of knew where the end is for him, and it literally kills off, that person
Yeah.
occupying 007.
I mean, it's
My
clear
biggest,
closure. This is it.
yeah, that's it. He's not coming
You
back.
know.
But again, I thought it was done so well.
Mhm.
Once I watched it three times, it really had to be three times for me,
So what was it about the third
because
time you saw it that really hooked you?
I think all the little stuff, I picked up on the little things because now I knew the whole story and I was
Yeah.
able to pick up on subtle things.
Yeah,
With
that's why I like
the new
rewatching things.
007 and the Ana de Armas and Ralph Fiennes, seeing them really work all that stuff into their character, I thought they did a
Yeah.
great job. The one thing that I don't like Rami Malek. I think his
He's hit or miss
character.
for me. I
I didn't like him in the Queen movie. I hated him in that. I thought it was just flat. And I think here too, he's just more quirky than he just. I feel like he's just just okay, Rami. Can you just be like pretend you're aristocratic or something like that, and
yeah.
just put your nose in the air like you're special. And then that's what it felt like he played it. It wasn't. I like the opening scene. I like the fight scene. I don't like. I just couldn't deal with him for some reason. And the Madeline, the love interest. I just didn't really.
Yeah.
I didn't need her to be there.
Mhm.
I get where James Bond was going. He finally had a
Mhm.
lineage. He left a
Yeah.
child. He found
And that's
love.
she's there for the child. I mean, I think that's
Yeah,
really why
that's
that
it.
character's
That's
there.
it.
You know.
Because I didn't see again. I didn't see that need for her. I didn't see what she brought to it.
Mhm.
With that love interest. And that's a problem with. And that's actually a great segue to the harder they fall,
Mhm.
where it's a very beautiful western. I actually
It's
liked it the first time I saw it. I thought
visually it's fantastic. That's the kind of movie
visually
I'd like to rewatch just to see. Some of
right.
those shots are amazing, and
Shots are amazing. It's the director. I think it's the director is James Samuel, and I think he's the brother of Seal.
I
the
didn't know
musician.
that, but he
If I'm
visually he nailed it,
yeah,
and he takes all these like Western, tropes and just does it in a new, exciting way for a younger generation. So it's
really,
like
really did
it's
well.
not historically accurate, right? I mean, the language is very
No, the language.
contemporary and everything, but
I tell
it's
you though,
great. It
I thought
hooks
the
you.
same thing. I thought the same thing, but I will argue this, just being devil's advocate. How do we really know how they spoke?
That's a good point. Yep.
Because a lot of times we have this American idealism of what Southern speak is and genteel and where you are in the country and sort of mashed together.
Yeah.
Yet during that time was one of the biggest immigrant movements of this country, where
Right.
there was homesteading with the Irish and the Scottish. There were German. Most states actually only spoke German. A lot of communities only spoke German back then. There was a lot of Eastern Bloc countries. There were a lot of Czech, Ukrainian. They were all the minor towns and the farmers and the beer makers. They were all foreigners. So I had the same impression you had. I said, well, this is very like no one said, yo, bitch, but I don't know. Maybe they did,
Maybe they did. I mean, I
because
know they cursed up a storm and everything,
yeah.
and
No, well,
and it's
I don't
very
know that. Yeah.
you could really get into it. Somebody who doesn't like
Yeah.
westerns,
Yeah.
they'll be hooked
Yeah.
on it.
They'll say, no, that's totally wrong.
Yeah.
But
So,
I think 40% of the black of cowboys were black.
yeah, and that's why at the very beginning
So
they have that disclaimer. They're like, "This is not
yeah.
based on a true story,
Right.
but these are true people like this really existed." Like
Yeah. Well,
so.
the names of the gunfighters were real
Yeah, he used
individuals.
which I don't know then if he didn't want it to be based on true stories, why he would use real
Oh,
character names like that, because I think they're getting some backlash about some of that too now.
okay.
But I
I
thought
get
the
it.
casting was great. I loved
I thought the
every
casting,
single
but
person. Regina King, and Jonathan Majors, who's probably one of my favorite actors right now. Everything he's
he's
doing,
great. He
he's
did a
hitting a
great
home
job.
run. You know.
Yeah, he did a great job. Zazie Beetz is the only weak link, and that's how we're going to get back to me
Okay.
for why is there a love interest? When they know they're going to fuck everything up, and I get it,
Hmm.
but I didn't need that. That was almost formulaic for me, almost like a James Bond formula. Like we
Hmm.
got to get this girl to screw everything up because that's the only way James Bond's going to crash through the room. And then that love character, that was the only reason he crashed into the room the way it crashed at the end. Because
Hmm.
everything else was going well,
Right.
except she screwed things up because I'm going to be headstrong. I didn't need her to really, really be in it. I loved the guy who played Bill Pickett, the gunslinger who was
Yeah,
really
he was great.
fast. I am, and what's his name here too? I mean, they're so.
Whoever played
Lakeith Stanfield is like one of my favorite actors,
Mhm.
in the world, from Atlanta, from Get Out. I
Mhm.
think he has this resonance about his voice and how he brings things to the table. Idris Elba, again, Regina King, awesome. I thought there was a lot of good things in this film that people probably aren't speaking enough about.
Mhm.
I love when they go into, but this again, spoilers. They go rob a bank in a white town and it's painted all white,
Uh-huh.
and I lost my shit laughing at that. There's like no color. It was the blandest thing in the
Uh-huh.
world,
Yeah.
and then people of color come in,
Yeah.
and it was a great metaphor
It
of
really
like
was.
how perception
Mhm.
was, and like it reminded me of that movie. Was it Jojo Rabbit? Did you
Yeah.
see Jojo
I
Rabbit?
saw it,
I
and
love that movie.
I like the
Love that movie.
director. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was amazing. My
He's great.
favorite thing about that is that I lived in Germany for a while right after college, and I always find this interesting when we see how people dressed or whatever prior to color photography. We think everybody dressed in grays and
Yeah.
drab, but actually most of the world is very colorful.
Mhm.
And I noticed that movie right in that movie as well. Right away, there was a lot of color
Mhm.
in Germany. And when I lived in Germany, yeah, they all paint their houses. They got crazy colors everywhere.
Yep.
It's like they do full on paintings of murals of birds on the side of a house. You'll have a 2-story house, and they'll have their favorite saint painted on that
Yeah.
side, or a bird or a boat, whatever they feel would beautify their house. And he did that with Jojo Rabbit, where when you went to that German town,
Yeah.
the houses, the colors popped.
Yep.
The clothing popped, everything popped. And he said he specifically did that because I think he's part German too,
Mhm.
or come from that part of the world, that he wanted to show the vibrancy, that it wasn't
Mhm.
just this bland, sad place. That was an
Absolutely.
intentional course he took as a director. And I think that also came across in this film, where it was an intentional shift to make something, pop, to make it understand that it wasn't just dust.
Mhm.
There was vibrancy, there was life. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the twist at the end.
Mhm.
I enjoyed the corruption of goodwill, and that's what I felt like the story was a message of.
Yeah.
That by any means necessary, including killing somebody, to get an end goal that was positive for the greater good. That was, to me, the hidden message of both leads, be it the Nat Love or the Idris Elba character. To me, they were both actually going for the same thing. They to me, one was robbing banks, one was robbing thieves who rob banks.
Right.
For the greater good. It's kind of interesting.
And I think the action sequences too, it's a good parallel, because although Harder They Fall is more stylistic, right, and it's still realistic. The violence is very raw and very realistic. So at first I was like, oh, this is kind of too, almost campy. I thought a little bit, how over the top it was with some of the style. But the characters are great and it hooks you. Whereas with No Time to Die, it's some great action sequences, and very realistic. Like when he's in that car, James Bond, and they're shooting him, and he's just so calm and everything. And I'm like, those bullets are going to go through. I don't care how bulletproof that is. And it's just that scene was great. And
I really like that scene. Again, talking back,
action scenes ever I've seen.
I think from the explosion in that town, that's one of the opening. I think it's the second major scene in that film. And watching that scene, I'm very much with you on that. I think it's one of the best scenes I've seen in a James Bond film, and also his nuanced acting in that. I think Dan Craig really nails it. But you can see his insides shattered at that moment. Yeah, it's not just a car; it's that he literally tried to let go of his soulmate.
He's been betrayed.
That was blown apart. That was blown apart on him. Yeah. Her coffin was literally obliterated. To where he thinks that the woman he's with is what sold him out.
Yeah, he's like, somebody sold me out. Somebody knew I was here and told him.
Right. And he's retired. He's like, I'm done. I don't want to do any of this anymore. Yet they're still after him. Yet, like you said, joke, somebody pulled me back in. But having him think about should I let the bullets just go eventually? Yeah. Like in his mind, that's what I was thinking.
That's a good point.
Where he was like, should I let the bullets
just the confidence that this car is not going to let any, or if they do, who cares? I'm done.
Yeah, right. Said, and I felt that a little bit with him. Like he was thinking, of like, do I let this just end right now? Because I control it. I can control it. I can get out of it, or I can just, end that. And again, that's very much like with No Time to Die. I felt that was very similar. They were sort of trying to be in control constantly of their destiny. And they could have anybody in these movies could have walked away. That would have been a different story. Yeah. It would have been fine. Nobody would have found anybody. But they chose to say, okay, do I let it end? I could just be taken out right now. Or do I push to my goal or what I need to clarify? Not for closure, not for any of that shit. Even though I think The Harder They Fall is based on closure, but the twist at the end makes it, it isn't closure. It's really somebody who's just broken. And that's why I appreciated that story too. I really did. I thought, and I know that it's like maybe a little bit top for a twist, but I appreciated that because it was somebody who's so broken and just didn't understand, and that's the only kind of love he knew. Is the Rufus Buck character. Is that essentially he and Nate Love had the same father, but he separated, and the father became a priest to hide his sins. So, and I like that too. That the church was very prominent in this,
prominent from the very beginning.
The hiding of those sins. Right? First scene, and if you remember the town where they take over, almost in every shot outside, they're in the shadow of the cross.
That's great. Yeah, I got to look for that
it's always
again.
in the background. Yeah, if you watch that, they're in the church is right there, a little off. It's never center. It's a little off. So now religion's a little off. And I mean, maybe that's not intentional.
Every choice in that movie is intentional. Everything.
So
symbolic.
To me, it looks. Yeah, it's such a painting, and I like it when I see a film like that turns into a painting almost, and you see the little the dog or the cat in the background that's running through a field. You're like, well, that makes no sense. Well, why not? Yeah, it makes sense. That's the painting. That was that moment. Exactly. And it definitely was a moment film. I was pleasantly surprised. I probably haven't watched. I will watch it again.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch it again because he takes everything that's like a trope from westerns. Hijacking the train, right? And walking down, the shootout and every single thing, but does it in a fresh new way. It's not like
definitely does
a cliche.
And it is the choice. This casting I thought was great because he really. Like I said, you got these people in there who are just able to deliver a line.
Yeah, he was in there. Delroy Lindo, right? his character was great too. Like when you see him going into the saloon, right?
Yeah,
That was a great scene, and having a character of his caliber, playing that role, it works.
yeah. No, it's just it was. Yeah, that when Delroy walks in and you see his presence is just the rhythm of delivery,
Mhm.
which I really enjoyed. And again, in Bond, I think it was also very good casting. That's why I like Peripheral. I think the two people that ruined it for me were Rami Malek and
Yeah,
and and,
I
and
think
the
to
love interest.
Rami's, I think that was an underwritten villain. Like
No, it definitely was.
it,
No,
it,
no,
it
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 was a
has such great
caricature.
potential, and visually, it's really great.
Yeah,
With the
yeah.
mask and everything. But when
The
you get to
opening
that
bit when you
climax, I
don't
think you lose
reveal
a little
him.
bit with him.
Yeah, I lost a lot of him. I lost a lot of. I agree with you on that. I think it's underwritten. It was very superficial.
Hmm.
They just wanted to get rid of Bond to tell his story. It didn't
Yeah.
matter who the villain was,
Hmm.
it just tied all the loose ends. So when there is a new Bond, there's new villains. They got rid of everybody.
Hmm.
Essentially, they got rid of everything that could
Exactly.
impact. They
Yeah, when
they literally
Felix
killed
died, I was
all of
like, no,
Spectre.
why are you killing Felix? I like Felix.
They killed Felix. They killed Spectre. They killed everybody.
Yeah. That was another
So
thing.
now it's a new
Blofeld
Bond.
was kind of put in there too. Like I didn't.
Yeah,
It was kind of like this kind of
and
Silence of
that's
the
a way. He's
Lambs
such a great.
motif. I don't know.
He's such a great actor.
He
When
is,
when he does
but I don't think
stuff,
he
he
had much
just
to do in this one. They
no, he
just
didn't.
they
No,
were like, I need this for the trailer, maybe. So they pulled that
yeah.
scene.
Says
Yeah.
hey, he's back. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he was and even his death again. Spoilers, everybody. But even his death was anticlimactic. It wasn't gory, yet it should have been.
Yeah.
From all the rules of the way people were dying with his toxic agent, his death should have been like gory,
Mhm.
But no, it should have been like just like one notch below Ebola, but it wasn't. It was like he went to sleep.
Yeah.
I was like, well, they didn't want to make him ugly because they want to be representable, and they want everybody to know he's dead. He has to show his face.
Yeah.
So then there's some weird choices, but like for me, the casting is solid with the delivery, with what they had. I think a lot of the stuff was underwritten because the story wasn't about the spine. It wasn't about the threats to the world. It was about, hey, we really want to kill James Bond this time,
Mhm.
and that's from the writers, the producers, and the characters, the evil characters within.
Yeah.
It just didn't matter at that point. Like even the Rami Malek connection, I don't understand why he cared about James Bond.
Yeah.
There was no history with him at all.
Yeah.
So to him, he was a nobody. So like moving on.
All his
I did get
motivation
a
was
kick.
about his dad. It had really nothing.
Yeah.
And then there was that connection about Bond was the one involved in it from the prior movies, but I don't know. It just to me it just
Well,
felt like
Blofeld, that's his brother, and
yeah,
I was like, okay, I don't know if I really like this. Where it's going.
right.
You have the guy who played the Russian guy, Valder or Bruchev.
Yeah,
It's like my Russian character joke, by the way. It's like the worst. And his name is David Densik, I think. I think that's who he is. So he's not even like,
right.
it's just funny. I found him funny because I have a Russian joke like character that I play.
I mean, the
To my
story
kids
to
all the
me
time.
was that he's out, and then the Americans want to get him to work with the CIA
Yeah.
and all this other stuff, and then
That really didn't hold water for me. That was more like the Felix character of like, hey, this is my last one, and there's only one guy I can trust.
Mhm.
I know he played that,
right.
but it just didn't. It just felt like again, it felt like Spine was outdated,
Mhm.
and there's a new world of Spine, and it's totally different than this.
Yep.
And that's where I felt they went with this movie. Like, listen, we're going to kill everything because this is all outdated. It's not what people do anymore, and no one even gets it anyway. And he's just he's not of this world anymore. It's a bygone era.
Yeah, it's gone
And
by.
that's what it sort of felt like with me. And it's sad, but again, I watched it. I enjoyed it. I still do like him. I think he has a certain presence and strength that he plays when he plays James Bond that no one else has really had. When he runs angry, he runs angry. When he's winded and fighting, he's winded and
He
fighting.
brought a lot to the character, and it's going to be tough
Yeah.
for anybody to step in
Yeah.
his shoes.
Well, if they
But
do
always
go
say
with the
that.
new
They
James
said it
Bond,
after Sean Connery. They said it after
yeah.
Pierce
Well, Sean
Brosnan.
Connery had a sexuality to him and a delivery of smugness. I don't know if he was smug. There's a lot of stories about him, but he had a delivery of smugness, and he was the kind of guy that
And he
would smile and
invented
still
it
fuck
for
you
the
up.
screen.
Yeah, he invented that role.
Was the first
Yeah,
one. So.
because the book wasn't even like that, but the books were very, very much a caricature. Ian Fleming developed the idea when he was living in Albania.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was
I
an
did not
agent in
know
Albania.
that.
and that's why a lot of his books have evil guys as Albanian. Casino Royale, the main villain is Albanian.
Okay.
That's why they go to Lucin. But he was an agent in Albania.
I didn't know he was there when
for the UK, and he lived there, and he started thinking of the idea when he was there. I think it was him or his whatever.
I've always meant to go back and read them. I only think I read one a long time ago, but it's good to read the source material.
Yeah, sure. No, it's fun sometimes. You discover new things.
Adam West was in the running. Adam West was in the running to play James Bond when he was doing.
I remember that when they were making more of an American. They wanted to make it like an American thing.
I had heard about it. I mean, that obviously probably would have been more campy and everything. Even if they played it a little serious, I can't see Adam West really being.
I've never seen him do anything but camp, even when he's trying. I mean, he is the. So. I mean, he's more campy than William Shatner. He's the American William Shatner. He's not Canadian, right?
But you wonder how his career would have turned if he had been James Bond, and how James Bond himself would have been. I mean, he wouldn't have done it British. He would have totally done it Americanized.
No, it's supposed to be. I remember reading that it was supposed to be totally an American thing, and that was one of the. 1 second here, somebody's. Why do people like send me texts when I'm doing shows? I hate that. I think he was. I do remember something like that where they were trying to make it an entirely American spy story. And it would have been in a different direction. No, it wouldn't work. It would have been a one-off. I mean, we've done it. Yeah, we would have done it. But again, I think the original, the franchise was interesting because it was about spying, and he was just the best of the best. That's why they called him. And I think that's where we sort of lost in the last installments of the franchise. It was not about getting the best of the best. It was really just somebody had a hard on to kill James Bond, and they finally capped it. Yeah. And it's fine. It's fine. I liked him. I always liked him. And I thought he did a great job with this. I thought the Peripheral people were great. Like I said, Lashana Lynch as a new 007 was great.
It was good.
It was definitely satisfying. Yeah. It was definitely satisfying. It just wasn't as big as I thought it could be. How do you compare it to Dune? Did you see Dune?
I saw Dune. I liked it a lot. My only complaint with Dune, was that I couldn't hear the dialogue all the time. Like there was a lot of mumbling. But visually it was great. I thought the actors were great. So it was really, really good.
That was a hard start for me. I'm bringing it up here because I want to remember the names. It was a hard start for me. But by the end, I did enjoy it. It pulled me in very, very much. Again, like I was saying, that it's a film's job is to make you think and pull you in.
I wonder how somebody who hadn't read the books, whether they could really get in. Oh, and you were able to really get into the story?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I never read the books. I remember watching the first movie, the first time they did it, and I hated it because it felt creepy.
The David Lynch
one. The Lynch
was
one.
All,
it just felt creepy and I didn't like it.
The special effects weren't great. The sci-fi miniseries, I thought they captured the story well, but it was too like on the nose. Like this one really felt like it captured the mood and the tone and
the mood grew. The mood grew. I will say, I mean, I have my peeves about world building. Mm-hmm. It's like if you got spaceships, you probably have you don't need 3-foot wall doors. So like it's very akin to like spacemen go into the Mayan temples, and that's what it felt like. But if you got space stuff, I'm just saying, you probably need, you can have a normal toilet and normal size room, and security. Again, this is what we talk. I think, did we talk about this last time? It was like Star Trek. I think every futuristic movie is in an alternative universe that doesn't have cameras. Yeah. None of them have cameras.
I know.
Because and the same thing. Like if you got lasers, and you got shit, and you don't know somebody's breaking into your house, I know. That makes no sense to me. I've got, everybody I know has the ring at the door.
Yeah. That's why it's interesting, the technology, because it's gone so far, and yet it has this very kind of medieval feel to it. They're fighting with knives.
Do you think they crutch? Yeah. Do you think they crutch on steampunk a lot?
I think a little bit, and it was before there even was, steampunk, right? It's
well, now that's a word now. But it feels like a lot of this stuff like pushes. Yeah. On Steam, where they modernize it to make it, digestible. I'll say, with people. I mean, same thing with the harder they fall. Maybe that's why they have, we're saying like the modern, dialogue in it to make it digestible. Yeah. They said it as if technology stopped and we just stayed, but language evolved. And the same thing with Dune. It feels almost like it was a little bit of a steampunk element. And that, I mean, even from the original, I think that was there too. So I think that it's inherently in the
I
story.
mean, you know, the
But I think
technology
they
is
made it a
so,
little
and you know,
bigger.
they can't penetrate anything. So the only way you could do it is like really close with like a knife to go through the, like if you hit somebody
Yeah.
with a cannon, you know, they're
Right.
invincible. But if you get close to them, you could slice their throat. You know,
Yeah.
I find that
Yeah.
interesting, and that's all
It was an
because of
interesting
Herbert
play.
and
Yeah.
in the
Right.
book.
Depending on the force.
You know, but I
Yeah. A
wonder if
sudden
somebody who
shot. Yeah.
hadn't read the book, I thought, how would they
Yeah.
really pick up on that? Because that's why I
There's.
thought it was good that they didn't just stop the action to kind of give all this exposition,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's kind of like rushing and a lot of very like, you know, spiritual montages, you know, and
Yeah.
so I liked it. I'm
No,
curious.
I liked it. I did
Yeah.
like it. Jason Momoa,
Hmm.
not a huge fan of it.
Really, and I thought he was good in this one. I thought, I
I feel
mean,
like he's still Jason
it's his
Momoa.
type. Yeah, exactly. He can only play a
Yeah, he's
type.
still Jason
You know,
Momoa.
he's
Yeah. Yeah.
Aquaman. He's the guy from Game of
Yeah, that's it.
Thrones. You know, he's got this show C, right, where he plays the blind guy and
Yeah.
these fantasies.
Yeah. He's a grunting brute
Yeah,
usually.
but he does
But the
it
funny thing,
well.
like
He does it well. You
he
know,
does know that's his
it's like
thing.
Vin
Yeah.
Diesel. You know,
He
these
gets
other
paid.
characters
He
who
gets
like
paid.
kind of, you know,
He's the De Niro of shirtless handsome guys. He just does one guy. That's how he pays for his things. He's got to take off his shirt at some point and just be handsome, and everybody's like, okay. The only thing, his name is Duncan Idaho. So you have all these weird names in this film, you know, but then you have Duncan Idaho. So you think he's like, I mean,
I know.
it was probably written for Brad Pitt. As like, you know, like when they listen about 15 years ago, like, listen, we're gonna remake Dune, and I want this one guy to be named Duncan Idaho. He's gonna be a male prostitute, and we're gonna get Brad Pitt, and they sold it on that, and they just didn't change it. Holy shit! Who can we get now to be essentially a male prostitute's male stripper's name, Duncan Idaho? You know, because he's got the bend. I don't know if you notice Idaho. It has a long arm. So he's got the bend. So they gave it to this guy. Listen, Jason will do it. Just get his shirt off. He'll do it. He'll do it. He'll do it. You know, and I, he's, you know, it's just like you said, he's good. He's just Jason.
Yeah.
He is just who he is.
Yeah, he's exactly.
There's nothing.
He's it.
Yeah, there's nothing past that. Yeah, Josh Brolin, and it was sort of the same guy too. I saw a lot of sameness in this. Dave Bautista also. I really don't. I know he's like quitting Guardians of the Galaxy, but he's really the same brooding guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's still the same sort of dim, angry, you know, one vocal range scream. I liked him in Blade Runner.
The last one, that was the same director. Same director.
Yeah, I know.
Who did
I know.
remake.
Actually, when I was watching it,
and that was
like,
a great
looks
movie.
Exactly. I loved it.
That was my favorite movie of that year.
I love Batista seeing it. Yeah. I love Batista seeing it. I thought it was a really, really layered, really rich scene. And I didn't make the connection with the director. Honestly, I just put it on. But when I was watching Dune, I was like, wow, this has the feel of Blade Runner. Like it has that rhythm of Blade Runner. So I'm anxious for part 2. And I think this is one of the first films that when there is a part 2, it wasn't okayed already. I think they're still talking about there's going to be a part 2.
You know, I think this didn't do that well in the box office or what they were expecting. So I think there was some hesitation whether there even was going to be a part 2 to Dune. Yeah. But they greenlit it, so it's good.
Did they? Yeah. Great. Yeah.
I mean, it didn't end on a real cliffhanger. Like it kind of like, you know, it told
the story needs to go somewhere.
You know, and you knew you know, so you want to see what happens next because that's the good part of the story. But I'm glad there'll be a part 2, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for that. You know, Oscar Isaac is dead, but that guy works too hard anyway. He doesn't need to be in any franchises. He works.
Well, there's another one where they killed off almost everybody. That was interesting.
Yeah. Well,
Duncan Idaho had his little scene, which was really good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's just funny. Yeah, I think does he come back? I think he comes back.
Right, but you know,
does Duncan come back?
There's certain things you gotta just see what they do with it.
Okay.
So, you know, because Dune, they wrote like 50 novels of Dune. You know, like
they
wrote a bunch, and then his son, you know, teamed up with a co-writer, and they did a whole other bunch of series.
They keep going at it.
You know, they did prequels to it. You know, so it's
how
like
do you
whole
like the
universe.
lead, the Timothy Chalamet? I don't know how to pronounce the last name.
Yeah, he's good at it. He plays the part. He's
he plays the part.
I
think he's the go-to. Now he's the go-to.
You know, the white savior comes to the world of and he becomes the new
Yeah,
Messiah, and it's like it's a story that
yeah.
Frank Herbert kind of lifted from mythology, but that's what sparked Star Wars, and that's what sparked all these. You wouldn't have Star
Oh,
Wars without
definitely.
Dune. You wouldn't have you know. So it's
No, I
really
agree with you on that. I totally agree with that. I mean, the imagery is definitely very Star Wars. I mean,
Mhm.
people probably like I haven't
They
read the
don't
book,
really,
but I'm
yeah.
sure many people have said, "Oh, it's just like Star Wars." Actually, Star Wars is just like this.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and you can see that because the layers here are much richer. They're
Yeah.
less cartoony with the world building,
Mhm. The
the
Empire,
size of it, yeah, the
it's all,
size of it,
Star Wars,
yeah.
Lucas had a debt to that, and, he also the movie serials George Lucas picked from it wasn't just a ripoff of Dune.
Oh,
Star
sure, yeah,
Wars,
no,
I
sure.
love Star Wars,
No, no, not a
but
ripoff. It's
it's totally a bunch of it comes from Dune.
yeah, no, I could totally see that. It was very enjoy. I mean, like I said, it was enjoy. I liked it. I liked it. And I don't know if everybody liked it. And like you said, the money wasn't really there for even. I think No Time to Die was. They made a shitload of money, but everybody's like, yeah, they might not.
Mhm.
They're not sure if they want any money because it's just. I guess things are more expensive to shoot now too.
Yeah.
And you have all these hurdles with COVID about how to shoot film. So the
Mhm.
costs are going up and people are slowing it down. But yeah, I mean, Dune to me deserves, and I'm happy it got greenlit because it
Mhm.
deserved to continue. I thought the way it was shot, and again, some of the casting I liked it when the Empire came in and gave the orders to Oscar Isaac,
Yeah.
how that pageantry of it,
Yeah, that
the
was a nice scene.
officialness of it. I really liked it a lot. And I like the peripherals too there too. I like the people who were, were there and a lot of the supporting cast. I thought had a richness and a level of character that you don't see often. So I commend the director for being able to get that.
Mhm.
I know I got to talk about the Dave Batista just being themselves, but that's what they're going to be. I mean, they're not going to
Yeah,
be much more than that.
and that's why when you look
But
at these characters, I think it's like, oh, Jason Momoa and Dave Batista. It's like
yeah,
fits the
yeah,
character. Why not?
yeah, that's it.
Um,
Yeah, that's it. But everybody else really anchors it. It really
yeah,
anchors it well. I thought, and it's like that with all these movies.
yeah,
I think that these are three great ensemble movies, in
yeah.
my
Even
opinion.
James Bond, even No Time
Yeah,
to Die. The
yeah,
whole cast. I think Q had a big role in it more than usual. He wasn't just making the equipment. For James Bond, he had a
yeah.
big part in it. It was more than you saw a little bit of his family life there. So
Yeah, a
it
little
was much
personal
more
life. I think to try
ensemble
and
than in
round
the
it off a
others.
little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, definitely show a little more. Maybe probably I don't know. I had some issues with that too. I didn't think he would
And he
be
needed
like
a
working
team in
a
this one,
pilot. He
especially
needed
the
more of a
part when he
team.
was with the Americans. I think it was really you
Yeah,
could see that it wasn't just James Bond, lone
yeah.
action figure going in to save the day. It's
That
like,
that's they're definitely breaking the mold of who the character is.
mhm,
If you really see in this James Bond, they're breaking the idea of they're breaking all the rules from the over sexualization. How special he was, how great he was. He got his ass kicked. He was vulnerable. He was beaten down. People were winning. It wasn't him getting away at the end. Which he would have always gotten away. So there is, they really did try and break every, like you said, where he wasn't a loner, where he was breaking rules, but he needed rules to really get to where he was going. He needed other people to support him, otherwise he wasn't as strong, and that
mhm,
was very evident in the storyline after three watchings. So it's very layered. I think people need to. I think people need to really watch it to really understand
mhm,
what it was trying to say.
yeah,
Just as I love James Bond flicks. I'll watch it. You probably won't like it, but when you say really really look at it and look at what the cast is doing, look what the other characters are doing, and the nuance even of him of how, I mean, he only looked happy at the end when he was about to die.
yeah.
Until then, he was really like just beaten down. He knew he just couldn't get
Well,
he
he
couldn't get
accept,
to a happy place.
full
He accepted
spoiler.
it.
He accepted it. Like he could have just.
Yeah,
There was that point where I'm like, you did it. Go back. You don't need to.
yeah,
You know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
he kind of embraced that. It was almost like the scene with the car, like you said. Maybe he did have this death wish after a while. Like
yeah,
it was just like,
yeah.
okay, I'm ready. I've done my duty. I'm done. Um,
That's what it felt like. Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like at
mhm,
that moment. He was like, I've come to my natural conclusion.
mhm,
There was no way I thought it could end any different than this
mhm.
way. But it was fireworks for him.
Yeah,
I mean, if you looked at him, he's looking up.
yeah,
He was just saying goodbye. And it was just he just. I mean, again, I don't know what's going on in the actors' minds, but
mhm,
but to me, it was a character who looked up and saw fireworks,
yeah,
and that's it.
mhm,
I was going out with a big bang.
yeah.
and there's no way I'm coming back. There is no question for this. It's going to be instant. I'm out, and I never thought it could be anything but this. So very very layered, very layered delivery, very layered choice for the actor.
Yep.
So I mean I don't know, that's all I got.
And that's the other connection between all these three movies that we were talking about is the mythology, right? I mean, the Western mythology, Dune, had this whole world building mythology,
legend building,
and James Bond is a myth, right? And the whole movie talks about that and how suddenly he's done, and now somebody else is going to step in, but he is that myth, and this is the end of the myth. This is the end, and he's going out on his terms. He decides.
Yeah. It is actually interesting. A very valid point that it is like, a sense of mythology of biblical proportions, where even the harder they fall, like I said, the priest, the broken priest, the priests who lie are very prominent in it. And even though they want, to be forgiven, there's still a price to pay. With the church very, very prominent in it. Dune is very religious in its way. It's looking for the Messiah. It's looking for the second coming. It's looking for signs of a better existence, and naturalism. Where they're dealing with nature and how nature applies to them and all this other stuff. And then you have James Bond, where he is mythic, like you're saying. I mean, it's a big leap to say it's religious, but he is mythic, and he always got reborn, and he always came back. And you couldn't keep him down. He was a legend, and
even at the end of this one,
killed by his brother, which is a great tragedy.
If you're a diehard James Bond fan, I think you could say, "Well, we never saw the body. You never buried him.
Oh, definitely.
They'll bring him back." But this was the swan song for Daniel Craig, I think.
Very Greek tragedy. His brother essentially sets him up to die.
Yeah.
His adopted brother, whose adopted son essentially kills this guy, and he's the guy who saved his wife from killing from. So it's like everybody was just trying to kill each other, and they're all like, it's a weird family if you really look at it. As I was like, wow, it's just even talking to you about it. It is very Greek, mythic Greek tragedy,
and those are the best stories. Those are the stories that were able to be told around the fireplace, for generations. They didn't write it down; it's all oral tradition.
Yeah, sure.
Those are the kind of stories that even now we're seeing them in the movies. We're seeing them in our books and novels.
Yeah, well, they're definitely diving more into that and seeing that layered, that layer sense of guilt and loss and pain, and actually, I just did a review on my other podcast, another podcast I had. Somebody was doing a short film about a transgender person in New York, of their ordeal of trying to be who they wanted to be, who they felt they were. Really interesting, really interesting. It's nice when you see like films being made like that, where people are constantly pushing.
That's where movies have that magic and the power to kind of tell these stories and make it visual and connect.
Right. Yeah. Make people think. Make people think. These three movies made me think. I actually walked away satisfied with all three of them, I'll say.
For the third time, though,
third time James Bond. Yeah. It was hard for me to get over the fact that everything
times that tells you how there really is something here in this world.
Right. Exactly. So it's not a slight, actually.
Yeah.
Is that I can watch this again.
It's not like Last Duel.
I can probably watch it again.
Right? You said you walked out. You couldn't finish watching Last Duel.
Oh my God. For anyone who's watching Last Duel, just turn it off.
I sat through the whole thing. I watched.
I couldn't sit. I tried. After we spoke, I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. And
Ridley Scott directing. Ben Affleck,
Matt Damon.
How hard?
Ben Affleck writing a horrible script. A horrible script. Accents out the window. You will watch Kevin Costner doing Robin Hood and thank him for his wonderful job of accent. This was Ben Affleck's got, he doesn't have the right bleach blonde. He's got like people bleach their hair and it turns like a slight orange tint. That's how his hair looked in it. It's just so, it made no sense. There's time jumps everywhere. Adam Driver had the best accent, I thought, best delivery, because I think he was going full Shakespeare on it.
Yeah.
But these other guys should just stayed away, stayed home. They've got money. They're still getting money from Good Will Hunting, which they didn't. They wrote the original story, but it got rewritten like 20 times. So they've got a credit for that. So they should just enjoy that residual payment for all the shit they do and just never do anything again like this. They just no. Everybody's got one Academy Award winning script in them. Everybody. 2, that means you're a professional.
That's true.
These guys, no,
No.
wrong thing. Do your thing, do your acting, be Matt Damon and everything. Matt Damon is also Matt Damon and everything.
Mhm.
You know, and Ben Affleck, you know, you can be Batman, but only if you have a gay love affair with Supes, because I think it really needs to happen. Because I think it would. I think it would just be amazing. It would just be amazing. And they're both named Man, so you bring them together, it'd be Bat Soup, Soup Bat. I don't know. So, but you can't really have a nickname to combine the beginning and the end. But yeah, The Last Duel, I couldn't get, and I love the girl from Killing Eve. I forgot her
she was
name.
great in it. She was really good.
She's great. She's great, but she has so little to do because it's all.
I mean,
bullshit.
for those
like,
who haven't seen it, it's just it tells the same story 3 times from different perspectives, and it's just there's a brutal scene
it's
that's
not,
done twice. I mean, it's like enough. You know.
You know, I get that. I know people have done that artistically, tell the same story from different perspectives, and you know,
There's
they
no
sell,
Rashomon like some of the the big
right. It's
right,
not even
that one.
grand. It's not.
It was.
It's not. What was that one? That one with the three flag colors too. It's Polish director. There's another one too. I mean, there's a whole bunch like that, but it's very specific and it's constrained in time. This is 3 stories, and each story lasts decades.
It is true.
So like no, that never makes sense. You can't tell me that when we were teenagers, now we're old men, and this is how it really happened. I don't give a shit at that point.
And then Ridley Scott
where the road
directed
forked.
House of Gucci, which I went to see as well, and the accents were
that?
terrible in that one too. So I don't know what it is with Ridley Scott with movies with bad accents.
He's figuring out how to pay out. Is he recently divorced? Because he's probably figuring out like alimony or college payments for his kids.
He's still churning them out. I don't know how he's doing it, but.
No, not well. I can tell exactly how he's doing these too. like, he's trying to make a nice meal and it's coming out curdled. Yeah, like I'm watching the Bake Off stuff and it's all curdled. It's all curdled. It's like everything's curdled. The Last Duel was horrible. I could not even. I tried. I wanted to see it. I was like, I can't wait till it goes online. I don't go to the theaters that much. So I'm like, let me just wait till it's online. I was like, let me get I'll buy my subscription for a week. And that's why I buy my movie. You know, like I buy my movie because I buy it for a week. And I'll do it. And I was looking forward to it. I was like, it's going to be good. It's going to be dramatic. It's a period piece.
I like the chivalry. I liked how they played on that. Because the subtext, like they hated each other.
Yeah, I like that.
You know, it's a lot of like the Albanian culture. It was like there's certain ways to act. You gotta, you gotta be prideful.
I like that. I think they could have delved more into
hospitality and all that stuff. But then,
coming from Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, I don't think they did their research.
Yeah. And
they made assumptions of what chivalry is. I think Adam Driver, every scene he delivered it, and I'm not a huge fan of him because I think his voice is kind of weird. But for for everything, I don't think his voice matches every role he's played. But I thought for this, he did a great job delivering that character. In every, I only saw 2 variations of it, but I thought he did a very commendable job. And I can see his input in that character.
Yeah. No, Adam Driver's a great actor. He's done a lot of good.
Yeah.
Even in the Star Wars movies, I think he got a little bad.
I liked him in Star Wars movies actually. Yeah, I thought
he's in House of Gucci too, and he was good in that.
I know.
He's one of the few people that got the accent right. Al Pacino's in it. He did good. Jeremy Irons did well, but
Jeremy Irons.
Jared Leto was he was like in a different movie. I don't know what it was.
I can't with him. He's like, hey, everybody cast me to be Jared Leto. No, they cast you because the girls will come to the movie and just stop. Just stop, bro. Just do a cameo in the back. Adam Driver in this, I thought was really, really, really good. I enjoyed his delivery. I thought his presence, the way he was doing it, there was stuff there. I thought Matt Damon was flat in it. I thought Ben Affleck was like so happy he was like just filming in Scotland.
There's no likable character really in that whole movie.
None.
None. Just when you start liking him, like the Adam Driver character is like,
then you show him a different point of view, like a rapist. And you're like, oh, now he's a rapist. The guy was pretty okay. And I get the different points of view, but I don't think these guys really understood chivalry.
No,
it shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been like that. It was, and again, I think the timeline of the storytelling was way too long. I think that world that was I didn't even know that.
I've noticed a lot of these movies nowadays. Whatever happened to like the 90-minute movie? It's like they all have to.
Give me a 90-minute movie and let it happen over the course of 3 days. Yeah. My rule of thumb is when I write or when I direct or when I watch something, I need to understand. I'm not a religious man, but I need to understand why God is paying attention because I figure that's God's eye of why this is a special moment.
Yeah,
and not every moment. 30 years of somebody is not a special moment to me. That's just 30 years of somebody. I don't need a biopic. a biofilm. I need just a moment of
I
what
I
made that person, and
I
this I
agree.
didn't get.
I agree. If you're gonna
You know,
tell a story that spans decades, man, you better have a hook like The Godfather or something that really
yeah,
connects.
yeah,
Otherwise, it becomes turn it into a novel
right,
and leave
yeah,
it at
and that's
that.
it. And just
For a
think about put it on a
movie,
shelf. Hopefully somebody reads it.
you
Yeah.
gotta have that
Well,
connection.
even The Godfather is always every movie was a pivot point in
Mhm.
their history.
Right.
You didn't know about everything. You
Right.
didn't care. You don't from 1 to 2. You don't give a shit where the money went or how they made the money or how they grew.
Mhm.
There was a pivot point. There was
Yeah,
a betrayal. There was these things that pushed it to the next place,
that's true.
and that's where you move from. And this just had nothing in it from all those decades. I didn't understand the pivot point of like I will have a child with a new wife. I mean, this was like it was like the most. I could probably improv some like stupid faux middle English speak. And
Mhm.
hello, your lord, may I have your child? I have no food to eat. This is unfair, and then like that. I'm like, bro, stop. It's like a bad SNL sketch. And then he had that haircut. He had this friggin' mullet,
Yeah.
and no one else had a mullet
Mhm. That's it. If it's
except him.
supposed to be like historically accurate, then everybody should have had it or something. Or
They only
um,
had like 3
and
barbers. I mean,
sometimes
they
just
did
because it's
themselves.
historically accurate doesn't mean it has to be in the movie. Like
Right.
sometimes it's like be creative. You
Well,
know what I mean? Make it something.
heels were invented for knights to better
Yeah.
sit on their
Yeah.
stirrups for horses. Now no one man there wasn't a man there who wore heels. So I mean that was pageantry. They wore like really tall heels.
Yeah.
So if we're going historic, that's
Exactly.
being selective. Then go full. If you're gonna go, oh, they had mullets. Yeah, one guy had mullet.
Mhm.
One guy. And I'm sure everybody said, why do you have a mullet? So so no one else had a mullet. No one else had a
Uh-huh.
freaking mullet. I mean, no one of major consequence
Yeah.
had a mullet. And the only way I learned that time jumped was because Adam Driver's hair length changed.
I didn't
And
know.
it must be a new year. His hair is longer. And I was like, but they just spoke like yesterday.
Yeah.
Why are they
It's
upset
like
today?
continuity
Yeah,
is
why are they
important.
mad at each other? It's very funny to me like that. So yeah. So out of 4 films that came out recently, I like 3. I really didn't like the 4th.
Mhm.
I know you said yeah, it's hard to watch, and you finished it. I applaud you.
Yeah.
That is you got your money out of that. But that was just wow. I was like, this is not good. I know, and Ridley Scott's like upset. Like no one he thinks that it got bad because I don't know why he said oh, people have like
Dude,
he's giving excuses of why it sucks.
people don't want to
But it
see a
sucks.
graphic rape scene in a movie.
No,
I mean,
twice.
eh,
Twice.
twice because they do it again from the different person's
Yeah.
perspective. So
Yeah.
I see what you're trying to do, and I understand, but it's not easy to sit through, especially when you don't like
No,
any
it's
of the
nice.
characters. Like they're all
Right.
just
There's no redeeming quality,
it's just
really.
all
I mean, you like one, they go, oh, I guess they were a douchebag from this perspective. So now you're like, I don't like him.
yeah
Now I see he's just pompous and a liar.
yeah.
And it's just I think they just wanted to prove they could write something.
Mhm.
And it was probably, hey, this almost feels like they had dinner together with their wives
Yep.
in Cabo or something. They had an
I
idea,
think
and
they
like, what would be
read
cool?
the original book that it was based on or whatever it was because it's based on a
Yeah.
true
And
story, and
somebody had a
then
hard
somebody
on
wrote a
for it.
novel, um, and then they were like, yeah, make a movie out of this.
Yeah. 'Cause I know they did that for trials. I know for like for anything that was like sexual, they would actually have a court hearing in public, and people had to actually state exactly what happened,
Mhm.
because back then something written was not as valued as something
Oh yeah,
spoken. So you couldn't write a testimony; you had to actually publicly
right.
say it, and that's why they did it that way. That you had to publicly accuse somebody in person,
Mhm.
and that's when people believed you. Otherwise, you were lying.
Oh
If
yeah,
you wrote it
and it's
down,
relevant.
anybody who
It's a
wrote something could
relevant
lie.
story in this whole Me Too era and everything like that. I think I
Yeah.
could see why they thought, okay, we might have something here. I just think the execution is what really
The
screwed
execution of
things.
the acting was horrible. I
Really.
mean, Matt Damon was that character was not. It was not. I didn't care. Like you said, they weren't likable. I just didn't care about Matt Damon's character.
Mhm,
And Ben Affleck, I was like, you got it right away. He didn't like Matt Damon, but I didn't know why.
mhm,
Like the first scene when they meet, he says, Neil, come closer for kneeling.
mhm.
And I was like, oh. And again, maybe it's me just thinking that everything's homoerotic, but I'm sure Ben Affleck and Adam Driver's character were sleeping together. I am sure of it. I mean, there's orgies throughout the whole
There
movie.
is. Yeah.
So you're like, I guess another orgy. And things get the lights they don't have a lot of lights. It's candles. The candle goes
Mhm.
out. They don't know who's touching who. And there was a moment. I'm sure there's a moment where they had a moment, and that's really what it is. So, horrible. But yeah, but it was just weird. Even the mother character was weird.
Yeah.
I just thought they built the characters. It just didn't tell me a story.
Mm-hmm. Told you,
You know?
three
I don't know if I gave a
times in a
shit.
row.
I felt bad for the wife 3 times. Yeah.
Back to
Yeah,
back to back.
it just didn't tell me. Yeah, no, it was
You heard the story.
like, I
Let's
didn't.
tell it to you again. But
Yeah, tell you again, a little bit different.
yeah.
But you
And
got to
that's
find
what
out the
it was.
difference.
It was like
It's not
a
even that
little
different.
bit different. It wasn't like
Yeah.
a completely, each version was like a completely different one. It was just like subtle differences, and enough to
Yeah.
make you maybe think and be like, okay, I see. So
You know what I found interesting? When you
What?
told me that, I was like, okay, let me start the second version. And the angles of the cameras didn't even change.
very subtle.
So I was like,
Very
that was
subtle.
like that. But see, that to me is, I get that. I get being subtle. But if you're telling from a different perspectives, you're telling it from a different voice when you change the point
Right.
of view.
Mm-hmm.
So the point of view has to be different.
That's what I mean. It's like you look at Rashomon,
And
which
it
is the
didn't.
classic, legendary Japanese version, where it tells you the story from all these different perspectives, and it's drastically different. But
Right.
the beauty is like you see the line that kind of goes.
You know,
So then, as a
see the
viewer, you're like,
connection where
what's
they
real and
meet.
what's not? You know,
Right. Whereas this,
yeah,
this is just, it's all it's perception. It's a dialogue. The dialogue, and Adam Driver did a good job, like in the second version of being just a little bit more forceful, a little less boyhood love affair. Because again, it felt like Matt Damon and him were like boyhood love affair at first. Like I save you, you save me. Oh my God, I love you. Okay, you are a good friend. Patch on the back. But and he was doing stuff that's nuanced, but I needed more to show me why it's different. I really needed more and less rape, but more.
And I still think you could have done the story without being so graphic on camera. I really think it, in this day and age with so many people, I don't know. I just think it was just a poor choice.
Yeah, and like I'm trying to get the actress' names. I actually want to. What's her name? I think she could have. She's really, really good. The wife.
She was really good.
I think
I forget her name.
Jodie Comer.
Yeah,
is that her name?
Great
she's really, really
good
really
performance.
Good. She's
good
great performance from her. I think she does a lot of stuff that people just don't. Very nuanced stuff. Look back to Matt Damon. She looked like she was a young bride in love.
Yeah.
When they first get married.
Yeah,
She actually,
and her heartbreak,
her
you see, and I'm sure a lot of women went through things like that too. Like they're just like,
yeah. So you see, she did
give me an heir.
I thought,
you have to give me an heir. That's why you're here. That's your purpose. And and so I could see, them looking at this, and this was based on a true story. So here is a woman at her time who really was brave enough to stand up and say, no, this is what happened, and this is what was done to me. And like you said, they had to say it verbally. And what's the risk? The risk is if your husband, gets killed, that means you're going to get killed too, because that means you were lying. God is sending out his judgment. So
it's crazy. It's really, really, really 2 hours and 32 minutes. Holy shit! No, thank God I didn't watch that.
What happened to the 90?
It's got an IMDb rating of like 7.5. Oh no!
He's a long movie.
I give movies chances. I really do. I try. I watched the remake of The Thing. Not the remake, the prequel of The Thing the other night. Everybody shat on that for years. I actually enjoyed it.
Okay.
It was actually done pretty well, considering, how people shat on it for years. But this, she's great. She has a great look to it. I mean, I'm looking at the stills and I'm like, oh my God. Like you can see it. She is so involved in it and she's really bringing something and she's looking at something. I know it's direction, but she sees it. And it just some of the stuff is just beautiful. And Matt Damon, I just didn't. Adam Driver too. I think he's a little busted faced a little bit, in this, but that's okay. That's how he was. He was a brutal guy in a brutal time, living his best life that he could. And I think these just two guys are just no. If they could just do like a remake of it. If they could do Cars, live action Cars, I think that'd be fine. I think Ben Affleck's got like a chin for like a car. If they could just do that, if they could do that live action car. I know they're wealthy. I know they're successful.
They got their Oscar.
They go fuck you. Good. Yeah, they go fuck you, guy. Yeah, I've done more than you've ever done. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I can still hate on you for a shitty job. Yeah. Just because you're famous doesn't mean you didn't do a shitty job. You did a shitty job. So kudos to you for doing a shitty job. So yeah,
That's it.
all right. Well, there you go. 4 films tonight, Nick. That is a
Wow.
lot, bro.
Wow.
Yeah, we went through a lot.
We did.
Good conversation. I
It
liked
was
it. Though.
good. And I want to go
Yeah.
back and watch. Out of all the ones we saw, I would watch Dune again, even though, like I
Yeah,
said, I have some issues with it. But Harder They Fall, I think stylistically, it's definitely worth watching again. And those performances are good.
definitely. Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree with you. That
so even if you're not a
style wise,
Western fan, I think you'd appreciate it.
no.
You know, it's a little
Yeah,
violent. Maybe if people don't like the gory violence, they might get turned
yeah.
off by that.
That's
But
not. Yeah.
it's still a good movie.
Well, good. The Last Duel has just as much violence. Really, it's
Yeah,
just swords, blood everywhere.
yeah.
So I mean, it's just. I think people's perception of like, you got black people in the Western,
Mhm.
and and maybe
And it's just
they're going to take it wrong.
visually, I think it's
But
great,
visually,
fantastic.
one of the most stunning movies I've seen in a long time. I love the ensemble cast of the delivery and they had
They
charm.
work really well together. I think all of them.
Yeah, they had a lot of charm. Even being mean, even being angry, even killing somebody, they had a lot of charm,
Mhm.
and it was just real with each other. That there was I mean, I can't speak highly enough of it stylistically. I know some people haven't like, it's okay, and I get it. I think visually it's
Again,
an
we said this, I
accomplishment.
think, last time we spoke. It was like everybody has different opinions. You know, that's what makes it
Yeah,
so
sure.
great. You know, people
Yeah, it is.
catch certain things that others don't. People will like
Yeah.
certain things that others don't. But that's what
Oh,
makes
so
movies
somebody
so
said they
great.
didn't like it, and we had a great conversation of things we both liked,
Mhm.
actually.
Yeah,
And it became like really energized the
uh,
conversation about what we liked.
yeah,
But the other guy was like, "Yeah, but I didn't really like it." Like, I was like, "You seem pretty happy talking about it.
yeah,
I mean, to me, that means you like it.
yeah,
But you seem okay,
yeah.
whatever."
There you go.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny, yeah. But definitely some good films out there, which I was surprised.
Yeah,
A lot of people are like, "Oh, there's nothing out there," but there's some good stuff besides Last Duel. There's some good stuff out there to watch. It can be really really interesting for people right now.
definitely.
Good production, really good production value
Mhm.
on all 3 of those,
Yep,
which
definitely
which
worth it.
which I like seeing. Yeah, definitely see.
Good.
All right, sir. All right,
Always good
Nick. I
talking,
think we're
Steve.
done for today.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. We'll talk about some more stuff. Hopefully,
You
some more
got it.
movies coming out. We'll talk again,
Anytime.
or we can talk about Albanian travels. I know everybody. We bring it up. I bring it up all the time.
Yeah,
So we can talk
it's on
about
my
Albanian
bucket
stuff.
list. I want to go see the
You
theater,
got to
the
go. I
ancient
told
theaters
you.
over there.
After our last call,
I know.
we had a long talk with Nick about how he should go, and not to support his homeland or
Yeah,
where our roots are from,
for sure.
but it's actually a great place to go.
Yeah.
It's
I hope
actually
they do
really
more
really
movies
nice.
there. I wonder if there's a business there to attract. Well, people going to Bulgaria to shoot films and
Yeah, they
all these
do.
other
I think
places.
it's a little. I think it's more open to not screwing you
Mhm.
over there,
Yeah.
and they have more of an industry historically too.
Okay.
Albania had a film industry
Mhm.
during communist times, but I think a lot of that was just like burnt out or stolen or whatever when communism fell. There was a lot of anger with the population, so people took things and they broke things. And they said, "Hey, I wish we had a theater here," and they had one. You're like, well, yeah, you had one. Yeah, but I needed cement and marble for my house.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
that's
Sometimes.
sort of like where things went. But the new script I'm writing actually is I wrote it to be set in Albania. I've got a few that I wrote to be set in Albania,
Nice.
but it's not just a love story with a dark twist to it. But it's based on traditional customs that we have as a people about how we fall once we are about to get married and families and all these things. Then tragedy happens, and what people do after. Essentially, it's a son dies. He's bringing the girl home to get married in his hometown after leaving for a number of years, and he dies. And this is the story of what happens after he dies.
Very cool. That's a
How
good
do they
pitch
cope
right
with it?
there.
Yeah, so
I'd
it's
like to read it.
yeah. I think it's okay. I'm actually like in the second. I'm in the second act right now.
Good.
But I picked a city I wanted to be shot in. I kind of know visually what I want, and I think I've got some interesting characters based something a little bit on some people I know, a little bit on some legends and things, stories I've heard about people.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's actually very. I think it could be interesting. I think Albania is prime for that
Mhm.
kind of story.
That's good.
I don't think it's prime for James Bond films. I think it's really prime
Yeah.
for a good
More
human,
intimate kind of human story.
intimate, and the human side of
Yeah.
things.
It'll be good to see us as more than just gangsters and the
Yeah,
villain of the
yeah.
week
Well, the human
on some
condition.
TV show,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I wanted to say. Like it's more prone to the human condition
Yeah.
of what people do to live.
Yep.
I wrote a treatment for a horror story too over there. That you could do, which I think would be
For
really
sure. There's a
interesting.
lot of
Because we're
great
scary mofos.
folklore in the Albanian culture,
It's based on
about horror, like
a
these
little
horror
bit of folklore,
creatures and
yeah.
witches and vampires.
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
really
and Nana
ghosts, a lot of
Striga. The
ghost
Italians
stories.
have Nonna
Believe it or
Striga.
not.
We have Strigas too.
Yeah,
We call them Strigas also.
absolutely.
People don't realize that.
Yep.
Yeah, so we have a lot of that. There's actually I have a book on Albanian myths and legends.
Yep.
I got, and actually it deals with a lot of the stuff and all these things over there. But there's a lot of, and people believe it.
Yeah.
People believe
Well,
it.
like I said,
My son,
came from the oral tradition. They didn't have TVs back then, so it was all these supernatural
that's why they're folk
stories.
All the Balkans, everybody in the Balkans. That's why there's great storytellers.
Great storytellers.
They the print books in print came there very late comparatively to the rest of Europe, and because of all the complications with churches and the conquest and everything, all you had was the Bible, but you didn't have it usually in native, like in Albanian. The Franciscans tried to make Albanian in the Bible for like centuries, trying to get it in the Bible. They gave them cliff notes in Albanian. Very few people wanted to translate. They get translated, I think, the 1500s or 1600s. And I don't think any copies of that are around. But that's when they were doing it. But even the other churches, they were all trying to find their own church and language. So it's very hard. Was it archaic Greek? Was it an archaic Slavonic? In the churches. So it was very weird. And I think the first printing press was Nulcin in the Balkans.
Okay.
The second one was Voskopoja.
Okay.
In Albania. That was the second printing press in the Balkans. So
that's why I like being on your podcast, because I learn something new every time.
It's interesting. You know what it is? I was thinking about it today. I probably overtalked the Albanian stuff. And I always do. Because it was like, oh, it's always Albanian. It isn't. It's the fact that a lot of other things have actually crossed our paths and come to us. So it's not that I don't think we've infused ourselves in everything, but I know other things have impacted us tremendously. Yeah. We are at the crossroads of Europe and the East. And that I find interesting. Listen, I find that super, and no one gets that.
For the longest time, as actors, people didn't even know who Albanians were. So, you probably relate to this. You'd go to an audition. It's like, okay, you're Greek, you're Russian. It's good to just say, I'm Albanian. And people are like, okay.
Yeah.
You say enough of it, and people start saying, okay, we need an Albanian in this story. Or, we don't have to turn an Albanian character into something that's more homogenous with something else, or stereotypical with something else.
Exactly. Why not give it a little more nuance and give it more history? I shot I shot a film I shot a film in Albania like in 2014 and 15, and we shot it there in the theater, and I literally gave every character, and this is how weird it is, that everybody was Albanian in the film. There were some Albanians from Greece, some Albanians from Albania, and we all shot this film, and even one Albanian from New York, and everybody was Albanian in it. It was about immigration. Paftu, I don't know if you ever saw that one that I did. I think you might have.
I think I might have seen it. Yeah, actually, I might have seen that.
You might have seen it. It's old. It's been around. Paftu, and it's about immigration. And it was a global story. It was about immigrants. And now you have two people who are next to each other, Greeks and Albanians. They look alike. They can probably understand each other, with some words here and there. And they get by. And they hate each other for some reason. So there's this animosity and anger. But I remember when I wrote the script and I gave the roles to the actors, I actually gave them background. They're like, where even the guys where they were born. I said, this is where this character was born. This is what his father did. And I broke this all down. And no one read it. No one read the background. So one guy goes to
background, I guess. Maybe.
One guy goes, no. One guy goes to me. He goes, listen, I think I figured this character out. I say, what? He goes, he comes from this region of Albania. And this is what his family is. I go, yeah. I go, it is, because that's the background that I wrote. And he goes, well, what do you mean? I go, well, that's how I wrote it. I wrote it with that verbiage to imply that. He goes, well, no, I made this up. No, you didn't. I got the email. You just didn't open it. so even Albanians didn't want to see themselves as more than, hey, I'm just an Albanian. Mm-hmm. It took him like a week or 2 weeks to figure out his character was this character.
That's funny.
And I was like, didn't you see the words that I picked? I picked certain words that are they're dialect words. They're not like, I mean, I gave you an accent. I mean, come on, guy. So even that is kind of interesting, So, but I mean, that's probably everybody. I think every ethnic group has that gripe. I mean, I'm sure, except Italians. Italians love the fact that they're all gangsters. But some
listen, there's a place for those kind of stories, and I love
there is.
The Godfather and Goodfellas and all that stuff myself. Oh, yeah. Doesn't mean that every time there's an Italian character, they should play a gangster. I think that's
exactly
insulting.
Exactly.
So the same thing.
I'm with you 100%.
The same thing with us. After a while, it's like, okay, great. Thank goodness we've had some roles Thank goodness.
Yeah.
But enough with the gangsters. Like that's fine, but let's show some
You
other
can do
characters
them,
out there that are a little bit more representative
or give them
of who
more
we are.
depth. You know what I'm saying? Give them make them that, but give them more
Well,
depth,
exactly.
depth
Tell us a
than
story,
just a
and
scumbag.
have the
You
other
know?
characters, the supporting characters around, like bring more. Just make it real.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's all I
But
ask.
no,
Just make
I'm
it
not.
better.
I'm not
Just make it better.
anti-gangster movie. I love my gangster
No, I
movies.
love it. I like
We're
gangster
gonna be
movies.
talking about
I
Goodfellas
think if
next.
you do them right, yeah, I can't wait for a good gangster movie. I don't think we've had one in a while,
Mhm.
but it's
House of Gucci is supposed. It's got a little bit of a mafia
gangster
vibe
feel
to
to
it.
it.
You know what I mean? But
Well,
it's not.
all fashion
Yeah.
does. You know, fashion is very controlled.
Yeah.
You know, music industry, fashion industry. That's probably the biggest gangster movies. Not that they have to be Italian all the
Mhm.
time, but that
Did you
gangster
watch
element now.
Fargo with when Chris Rock, right? The season that he
No,
was in. That
no,
was
I
good.
didn't watch
That was
that.
a very good
Yeah,
arc of a very good gangster story.
yeah,
So I forget if it was season 4 or what season it was, but it was
yeah.
good. I like
Okay,
that a lot.
maybe I'll check it out. Yeah,
So
I
yeah, it
like
could be
Chris Rock. I
done.
think
There's never
it can
no
be done,
genre can die.
nuanced and
No genre.
right. Exactly.
You can't say the western is over, science fiction movies are
No,
over,
no. Yeah,
superhero movies. If you make a good
yeah,
movie in that genre, it's gonna work. It's good
yeah.
storytelling.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm not
all it is.
saying
I agree with you on that.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think we just need better storytelling.
Yeah.
I think
And
we
don't
need
just
a lot
pigeonhole
better
yourself in
storytelling.
that. That's what
Yeah.
That's what I think
Yeah,
so
why
many
do we
people
want
need to
to?
learn.
I mean, that's we like our myth. Every people has a myth, and
Mhm.
we want that desperately to be our myth. But it's, I mean, and Albanians have done some crazy shit,
Mhm.
like any group, like every ethnic group.
Mhm.
And there's like I always like that one story. It's a crazy. I mean, you probably remember this story where the guy he won the lottery, his Albanian family, and then he had an affair with his girl for years. But they ended up marrying two people, and she had his baby while she was married to somebody
Oh, I
else,
heard
and
that
he
story. Yeah.
killed her. Yeah, he
There's a
killed
lot
her.
of there's a lot of
That's a
real
crazy
stories where
story.
you're like, this is like stranger than fiction. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
I know these guys, I know these guys, we're going off on gangster things, but I know these guys who essentially killed a guy, and they went to get rid of the body, and the only reason they got caught is because the town got upset. They dumped the body there. No one else gave a shit about the guy.
Mhm.
And even that's a rich story. That's very layered. It's crazy how people, and that's crazy stuff. Not that I'm not
well, when my
worshiping or
mom
anything.
tells me stories about about the old country and stuff, I
Yeah,
hear these stories and I'm like, wow, that would make a great movie. Just what
yeah.
our ancestors went through.
Oh
And I
yeah,
would like the world to hear about it.
yeah,
Because
definitely.
it's just very and it's that mythic kind of storytelling, like the old west
Yeah,
in American
yeah,
culture, and it's like it's that kind of that. But
yeah. Weight and length.
yeah,
That's what it
but when you're
is.
telling a movie,
Which
sometimes you have
sounds
to
weird to say.
embellish. You have to take these
Oh, you
stories
have to. You have to make
and
it. Well,
tell a story.
The
The
Last Duel
storytellers
failed.
knew how
It
to
didn't embellish
embellish.
right.
You know,
Yeah, the Last Duel was probably a good book and probably a good story. Horrible movie. They didn't know how to embellish to
yeah,
make it a better movie, to make it visually appealing,
there you go.
whereas everybody else did. That's
Mhm.
coming back to that line of conversation.
Very
Yeah,
true.
it's absolutely true. Absolutely true. You can take a genre and they're all. I mean, all those four films are different, but they're family breakup. They're all connected. It's a family or destiny
Hmm.
that they're all combating in those
Yep,
films. That's a
it's all
common
there.
theme in all four of those. And who embellished it best were those three, which is great odds. I would love to get those odds every day of the week, except Last Duel. And that's like the worst odds they're out
Yeah,
there. It's crazy.
there you go.
Yeah. All right. Hey, we can talk all night,
Good
but I think we'll wrap
conversation.
it up.
Thank you, man.
Always good.
Always
Always,
good.
Nick. We'll have you back, and if you want to tell me to watch something, tell me to watch
You
something,
got
and
it.
we'll come and talk on here again, and we'll have a great conversation
You
about it.
got it, man. Thank you so
All right,
much.
buddy.
All right.
Thank you.